It is 8:40 Newstalk Sauga 960 Raw. Mike Richards along with David Bastl. And of course, we have our little Bell Lifestyle Corner that we do from time to time on Mondays. As you know, our good friend sponsors the show, sponsors of the studio when we're in it. And generally, we talk about things that we feel are important, especially in today's current life. And when you start talking about stress and chronic stress, this would be a very appropriate topic for what's going on in the world today, whether it's your kids going back to school, you got about your job, do you have a business that you've had to keep survive? Are you waiting on a job? Is it the fear of, people vaccinated and then some for some reason don't want to be vaccinated, and then there's the arguments about it, and then of course they go, hey, how about an election? Let's have an election. It seemingly we just cannot get away from things being stressful in your life. So what can that do? What does it do to the human body? What does it do to your psyche? And are there ways to actually it's not a cure necessarily, but these are ways to find yourself to deal with this, to help you in these issues. And so we go to our very good friend Chhoker, who has not joined us in quite some time, I believe, from what I hear from Bal's camp and his people, that he has, to alleviate the stress, boycotted the show for the most part. He said, no, I refuse.
It's not the first.
I don't, that's the stress I don't need.
You have to get rid of the cause, man. That's all it comes down to. Get rid of the cause. So that way I don't have to take anything.
That's right. Here, I don't need a pill for that. I just click off on the Zoom. That's how I get rid of that. So good to see you, Val. How have you been though this summer? Things have been okay. Been good for you?
Well, good to be here, guys. Thanks for having me again. It's been, oddly enough, it's been busy. I've been busy just because as things have opened up, my kid is back at basketball. So there goes my evenings. All right. And I think you guys probably know this. David probably knows this more. All right. Taking kids here and there. But then, some family just came over from Edmonton. The other day, my wife's sister came in over with the two boys. So it's been, been running around, but it's been good. I can't complain. I'd rather be running around, doing stuff than sitting at home and then just start. And you know what? Come into this is when the stress comes in, when people just sit at home, they don't have things to do. And then the mind just starts playing games with them. And so I'm one to stay busy. So it's actually been excellent. I got to say for that reason.
So for people that are not as busy and do have this stress coming up, because we're in the middle of year number 2 of a pandemic. It doesn't appear to be going away anytime soon, and chronic stress has always been something that mounts and builds. So how do we combat that, Val, in a way that is helpful to our bodies and the right way of doing things?
Well, it comes down to, as I said, figuring out what the cause is. And we all know what the cause is these days, right? Sitting around, not being able to go see people, go see friends, doing it more like this, but it's not the same. So that, plus, as Mike just mentioned at the beginning, like, hey, listen, the uncertainty of the time is crazy. So all of that just compounds and compounds. And, when you look at the numbers, I think, I was sent some numbers recently, and it was 63% of Canadians say they feel that they've got either more stress than 5 years ago. Okay. Then, so that's just going up in numbers, and it's probably worse during the whole pandemic time on top of that. And if you don't do the exercise, which is the number one thing that people use to alleviate stress, and, I don't do any exercise. I have to tell you, this is good that you can only see here and you can't see down. All right. So, well, whatever, that's all right. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more like me, and so they don't mind just, neck up videos. It probably doesn't hurt, but the stress is probably, in that sense, whatever you can do is going to be important. And talking to people, and just alleviating the mental stress. But there's two types of stress. This is the other part, right? There is that whole mental stress of the chronic that you just mentioned, David. Over time, it just builds up, and then the mental aspect takes over. And that's what we actually talked about last time on the radio, was calming chronic stress. That's the formula that we talked about last time. That's about all the mental, emotional stuff, the stress, the anxiety, the depression side of things, really calming all that down to give you more focus and clarity. Then there's the more immediate stress, and there's the new formula these guys have got called mental stress and fatigue energy. So between the two, we just kind of got to decide which way we want to go. But I think the number one thing right now, because it's going into this long-term thing, just dragging out, that mental energy is completely gone for people. The drive is not there. So this is why the new formula we're going to talk about today, number 65, mental stress and fatigue energy boost, is for that to just get us going again, get our bodies moving and our mind moving again.
Well, it is, as you said, the way in which people deal with these stresses. For some people, as you mentioned yourself, busy's good. Busy keeps you occupied. Busy means that there is a certain function that's going on in your life and within your family. And then there's the other side, which means you sit around, you start to overthink things, and you start to stress. But people deal with things in different ways, and it has certain, I guess, side effects about it. And you just talked about sort of the, is it weight gain? Is it like sleep problems, right? I mean, the one thing about stress is, if you're a highly stressed person, and really the one thing I've always been able to do is sleep. Most of my life, I have always slept. But when I went through, and they're almost gone now, but the real health issues that I had, those were in my mind, and I couldn't sometimes let it go. So there's the stress of that. And when you do that, bye-bye sleep. Sleep gets crushed. And I think that's a lot of people, Bal.
Exactly. When you can't stop the mind from, turning the wheels that are back there about that chronic thought, whatever it was that bugged you, whether it was, David said something to you that you didn't like, and that affected your sleep. We don't know, right? Anything could have happened there. But, it's these things where if it just sets in and it creates a little seed, then exactly, it's going to set off your daily focus and clarity. It's definitely going to affect your sleep, because as soon as you've got nothing else to think about, then you're thinking about this thing. All right. And then the wheels start turning, and exactly, your sleep is gone. And you know what? Just like exercise, sleep is very important to get over all of this. So, get the body up and recovering again. Because if you're not sleeping, guess what? You got no daily energy to go with on top of that. So all of that, and then the immune system goes on top of that too. So, Bell does a good job of putting these formulas in by looking at the cause and then helping the body deal with all those side effects of it too. All right. So the new formula, mental stress, fatigue, energy, this is about getting, Panax ginseng is a wonderful, also called Chinese ginseng, Oriental ginseng, you name it, red ginseng. This ginseng is wonderful for two things, and that is getting more mental alertness going, but without having the brain wired, but also giving you physical energy to get up and do. Again, if you're just basically sitting back and almost in a depressive state, you don't want to get up and do anything. So we have to get the energy to get going, but also the mental alertness to get going. So this formula with, astragalus for immunity and more stress support, milk thistle for all those people who've been drinking too much because they're under, and they got to get that liver support too to get them all going, with some B vitamins. So really good formula to get that mental energy and get that physical energy to get you going and get you up and running again. Once we get that, the common chronic stress formula for the deep down stuff, it will actually then get that positive attitude to keep you going forward. Yeah.
That was a question we were getting in on our Twitter line right now. Let's see if I can just dig it up here. Okay, so we're talking about number 66, calming chronic stress, number 65, mental stress and fatigue energy boost. The question is, okay, here it is. Do the two formulas, and I got a feeling you kind of just nailed it there with the last answer, but just to confirm, the two formulas work together in this process of chronic stress?
Yeah, there's no problem using the two together. And, as I said, if somebody's in a deep state of, the mind just wreaking havoc on them. They got too much anxiety, too much, like they're heading in a depressive state. Then calming chronic stress has to be there.
Yeah.
Right. To get that mood elevation up, get your focus, get your desire, get your things going. Right. But if it's more of a short-term type of stress, then just 65 will probably be enough just to get you that quick boost that you need. Even for people who are just going to the gym, they need that little bit of a kick for physical and just focus and clarity to be able to, hammer out a couple more reps. Panic ginseng does a great job just for that. So for the acute, you can get away with 65, but if it's gone chronic, yeah, you want to do the two together. No problem. A very good idea to do.
Now, the other thing, and I always sort of stress this with the different products that we talk about, this is something that is a supplement. This is not a cure-all. Mm-hmm. This doesn't say you're not going to be stressed, and it also is a part of, a kind of program. If you're getting professional help, if you're seeing a therapist, this doesn't eliminate that part. We're not saying that you would take this so you don't have to get that kind of help, because we all realize now, with our sensitivity towards mental illness, with all those other issues, that this isn't a cure-all, but this is something that could help you along doing those kinds of programs.
Exactly. This is actually part of, let's call it a package in a way, whatever you're doing. And it depends on, again, what level you're at. And some people may actually even be on medication for anxiety and so on. The stuff in here is actually quite safe. And yeah, you want to consult somebody. If you're on a lot of medication, it's a good idea to consult someone, make sure that there won't be any overreaction. And sometimes a lot of the reactions are just about compounding the medication that you're already doing and making it work more. So you got to be careful of that reaction. But overall, yeah, that's why I say the exercise is crucial. The diet is going to be crucial. Whatever you're doing, whether it's therapy, or medication, all becomes part of this. And now you're supporting that aspect to give the body a little bit more lift, because majority of the therapies or, medical treatments, they're working on one aspect. So now we have to support the body for everything else. And these become a nice support for the body while you're doing everything else. And if you are, and some aren't, but some will be, definitely.
Yeah. We always see, and it's interesting enough, every single time we have our different specialists like yourself on the show, we have the topic we're talking about, and we always have zinc connected to it. Why is zinc so diverse, where it almost, I'm not going to say it helps everything, like but it's almost linked to everything. Am I getting this right, or is this just something that has happened?
No, you absolutely are. You know what? Minerals, all the minerals are important, and we actually talk about magnesium. I say is probably one of the most important, because it's a mental relaxant, physical relaxant. It gets rid of all the tension and tightness. But zinc is an immune booster, which again, chronic stress brings down your immunity, right? So it's really important for that, but it's also a wonderful anti-inflammatory. Chronic stress, I think we talked about this last time, also brings on a lot of inflammation in the body. So now what we're doing with zinc, it has so many roles, just like magnesium, that it helps keep the inflammation down, keeps the body moving, but it also helps boost the immunity, which is really crucial. And then if we come back into more of a men's health thing, that inflammation on that prostate, if we go back to our first time I was on, we were talking about prostate health, right? Zinc is really important for, again, reducing inflammation and that growth of cells. So really important for all of that. That's why you'll see it in all these formulas, especially for men's health. It's always been crucial. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and not to show anybody up, but what I do on top of that, I'm not a doctor or registered, but I will take the zinc and the magnesium and put it into a frozen strawberry margarita. So
of course.
you talk about living a stress-free life. Well, I'll tell you something, doctor. There's your cure right there.
There's everybody else's stress going up, and this guy's going down. Geez.
Well, they are tremendous products, and it's funny talking to Dave Park. I was it last week. I'm always amazed at the Bell products, how quickly sometimes and how effective they are in a relatively short period of time. I mean, look, there's a lot of things that we've talked about on this show over the years.
Yeah.
Certainly Inflamex was one of the commercials that we did.
Yes.
Inflamex worked relatively quickly. I found out last week because I my thumbs have been bad because of sports over the years. I don't have gout, but taking the gout relief and the curcumin, it's amazing what it has done in terms of the relief for the joints and all the stuff that it, as David said, it's not side effects or side benefits. I'm always incredibly impressed that in these products, as you said, they do more than just the thing it says on the label.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and that's it. I think the healing, there's this whole thing about managing things, all right, managing your health. Then there's a concept of healing, which means then you have to incorporate the rest of the body. So the formulators, whoever they are, and I don't know who they are for Bell, but the formulators are doing a good job of looking at that condition and what else does that condition do in the body, and then supporting all aspects of it. I think that's crucial on the healing side of things. So they take it a step further to help the rest of the body too, so that we will see overall results. And listen, when people start to get mobile, with what you just said, the Inflamex, people start to get mobile, they feel better on top of that. So all those people who have been sitting around and they're trying to get that exercise going because, they need to get more energy, they need to get that weight, and wedding season's coming up, for a lot of people too. Crazy, man. We're in the middle of one right now. They're stressed. They're stressed. It is, man, this household is going crazy with this thing. The stress of the money going out and stress trying to figure out those suits. But anyways, coming back, and suits not fitting, because I don't move. But overall, I don't even know where I was going with this now. Jeez. But you know what? Overall, the movement is crucial. And what you notice with things like that, when people get moving, they feel better mentally too. But if they've been sitting around, they're heavy, they got joint pains, things like that, they can't do things. So you have to look at incorporating those types of things also if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic stuff here this morning, Val. As always, great to see you. And as we understand, it looks like the professional wrestling career is over. From what I gathered from from what you're telling us. But boy, I'll tell you, fantastic stuff, Val. Thanks so much for this morning. Always a great time.
All right, always fun, guys. Thank you.
Mel Chhoker joining us here this morning talking about those products. And by the way, we always give you the numbers because that's the best way to do it. If you're looking for the mental stress and fatigue energy boost, that's number 65. And the calming chronic stress is number 66.